Alright, we're back here at the camper again. What's the date? The date's the 12th of the 1st, so 12th of January 2019. My sitting area is all complete. My batteries are actually on the... I'll show in a second the batteries, but we've actually got decent light right now. That's all the foam up there is for all my seating down here. A big backrest goes along here. I think it's in a separate video. I think I just added them up, but I finished my kitchenette area. It's my cupboard that I re-put in. It still isn't glued, it's actually just attached by a clamp. And then I've actually used Formwork F17 ply as my bench tops for the moment, and I'm going to trim it with some more Tas oak, which is what I've used everywhere else in this thing. That's actually fully formed. It's glued in, screwed in, everything else, and it's attached to the kickboard around the base, which is 90 by 19. What do you call this? Fucking Tas oak. Anyway, that's got a top on it as well, and again it'll have some trim on it that I'll route up, look all pretty. I've actually fucked this up, but you can't even. It's because it's dark, I can't see, but actually I cut it short, so I've just put a piece in there for the moment, but tomorrow I'll, because I've got to have enough here for a table. Table has to go like this, so I have to have enough. So I'll work out what that is tomorrow, and then I'll work it out from there. I finished my rear window section as well. What I did was, so the frame is 42 wide plus 3mm-ish for the inside ply, and it was too wide for the window, and I completely underestimated that. So what I had to do was cut out the whole frame, cut out everything that was here, everything else, and then cut it back along the ply line and reframe it, and then I had to put in this interior framing that will actually hold the window, which I've you can see I've ripped it down so it's quite significantly thinner, not thinner, less wide. We'll go with less wide on that one. Less wide. So it's actually, I think it's 36 to 38 mil. I can't really remember right now, but yeah. So what it does is it actually has a 19 mil. What's my wine glass? Has 19 mil there, which will suffice to attaching the window on the inside, and it's plumb on the exterior, so I just had to get rid of that little bit of nails there. But apart from that, it was a lot of work. I've cut out a fuck ton, but it now will work and hold a window, which is fucking awesome compared to how it was for the past since I built it. The exterior is relatively the same. I think the last video I showed you my gas setup, but I wired it up and gas tested everything. It's always handy to know someone with some gauges and everything else, but I did all the fitting myself and tested everything, but it holds, it's gas tight or airtight, and that's all. You can see on the exterior it's all gap sealed to stop if there is a leak or whatever else, it doesn't leak back into my cab. That's my biggest worry. I'll still get a I don't even know what type of reader it is. It's like a smoke detector but for gases, and I'll put that within the cab as well, just in case. You got to put it at I think it's a low level, but I'll put it at a low level beside my bed, so like probably up here on the interior of the cab, simply because if it's going to affect me, it's going to, gas sits at a lower level than oxygen, so it'll sit on the base level. So if you sit it just above where your head is when you're in bed, then when you're breathing it in, the sensor should go off. I've put in extra timbers here. I've got to put an extra timber in here because that's actually joined. My cladding should arrive this week. It's been an absolute prick because apparently they were supposed to send it before Christmas, didn't send it, fucked me around. I complained a fuck ton, and they're finally going to send it like almost a month after I ordered it, but it's whatever. It's yeah, you right there, bud? But yeah, this is what the bench tops look like, so you can actually see it's F17, 17 mil thick, which is a little thick, but a little thicker than I wanted. Actually, I built my full door frame, which I wish was assembled right now. I've taken it apart. There's part of it. Part of it is there, down there. That's the base of it. That's the side of it, or the sides of it. That's the door. Oh, that's the exterior view of the door. So the interior wall is another finished wall. It looks really cool when it's in, but I don't have time to put it together just to show you. It's about to get painted and put together so I can glue, and I'm actually going to nail that in. Once it's glued, it'll be nailed, because it's a lot easier, as well as to hide a nail, which is just a tiny head versus a whole fucking screw. Plus the risk of splitting that timber is exponentially lower when I'm nailing it with a gun. So it's the first time I've actually used nails in this whole thing. If it's not glued and joined, it's screwed on this, and it's usually glued, joined, glued, yeah, whatever, joined, glued, and screwed. And the screwing usually is just extra. The screws added are usually just extra security to it. But yeah, this window will go on tomorrow. The only difference, and it's again another thing that will only annoy me and no one else will fucking notice it, but because what that frame is sitting on is the existing frame, which was exactly the same height as that frame, that makes that frame now 19 mil lower than that frame. And I wanted it to be just that beautiful round the board. You look at it and it just sits perfectly the same, and now it's not going to be, which is a bit of a fucked myself on that one. But it's one of those, you can't accommodate for everything, and it's too late to even think to change that right now. But it is what it is. The gas point actually coming out of the wall, if my camera will show you the light properly, but it probably won't because it's getting dark again. I just keep doing this in the dark. Anyway, gas point looks great. Comes out of the wall. It'll be tidied up with a backing along the kitchenette wall. Kitchenette? Whatever. Yeah, point. And then my next point is to put in a sink here. I'll work out what I'm doing, but it all looks quite good, I guess you'd say. Doesn't look bad, which is always a start. And it's still quite spacious in here, and I know that I'm still missing a table, but I'm only a table away from kind of your final things. Covered doors will be built they'll be built in the coming weeks, but it's just not a high priority for me right now, because I just simply don't fucking care. I start work in a couple of days, and I wanted to get away before I started work, but that isn't happening anymore. But yeah, it's almost done. I still got to build a roof hatch for it. I think that's the only framing that has to be built still, is that. I've got to build. So on my original design, to support the weight on the tray, there was going to be a timber kind of like a hang down here, like one here, one in the center, and then one right there on the edge. Because there's actually about 200 overhang on either side of the tray, it wedged it in there. So if you sit that down hard like that, it can't move, because there's an edge on the tray which will hold those timbers in. And then I've actually got I'll show you along here. I finished my full my water system as well. My brother's still hooking up he was supposed to do the electrical today, but it was nice weather. He decided to go fishing instead, which was a bit of a fuck you, Sam, but it's a bit of whatever. You'll get it done soonish, hopefully. I'll be pushing him for at least before Monday. But yeah, so that's all sealed in now, perfectly all the way, glued, and I think it was liquid nails actually, and screwed in. But both water tanks. There's two different. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put like eye bolts here, and then just bolt them, or just ratchet them to the walls either way, and then these are actually, if it focuses, there you go. That's the top of my mount for my tie downs. So you can see one, and then the one on the far side like that, So 1 and 2, and they're simply just, they're not actually attached tight yet. They're actually U-bolts that you use on a, to attach your diffs to your leaf springs under a truck. So they're rated to really high, high capacity, high tensile. Yeah, high tensile. Yeah, alright. So they're strong, is what I'm trying to make a point of. But so what I actually did, I'll try and hop under here to show you. But because they usually bolt down and tie something really tight on, so I put bolts underneath, and then there's bolts sitting on top as well. So then you'll screw it down really tight on the top, and these bolts just stop it from going too high up, and then it just gives it that really rigidity through. It's right on top of a stud, or sorry, on the edge of my wall of my floor. But I've actually put timbers on top as well to help disperse the weight or the pressure that it applies. But I think it'll do the job. Yeah. So hopefully next time you're seeing a video, I've actually just posted up the last 2 videos that I made. One when I think I was pretty drunk, and I just put on the ceiling of this, and the other one was I don't even remember. I was just talking shit. But it's been a substantial amount more work done. It just doesn't look it. But if you look back through my videos of, you know, a month and a half ago, this thing is just an absolute shell. Like, and it's didn't have walls or a roof or this or that, but it's really starting to take shape. Hopefully in the next video it'll look much more together. I'm tossing up right now between putting a separator in between the bed and the kitchen, just because I'm worried about things getting wet. But you know, it's not a massive issue, but it's just kind of like, it almost add a bit of privacy. It'll add kind of like, that's a half wall, and then you walk around and there'll be another half. It just kind of block it in nicely. But we're thinking about it. We'll work on it from now on. But anyway, catch you later, peace.